Hello and welcome to Class 10 History online video lectures. Dear children, as you can see on the board, today we will be looking at the reasons behind the acceptance of the Mountbatten Plan. In my previous lesson, I have already explained to you what the Mountbatten Plan was. And for your examination of 2021, all that you need to study is the features of the plan and the acceptance of the plan. So, in today's class, I will be explaining to you from the perspective of different political parties like the Congress, the Muslim League, why this Mountbatten Plan was accepted by all political parties in India. Prior to this, we have seen so many plans and commissions coming into India. The Simon Commission was boycotted, alright. Then Cripps Mission Plan came, that was also boycotted. Then we also had the Wavell Plan, that was boycotted. Cabinet Mission Plan, that was also boycotted. But ultimately, it was the Mountbatten Plan which was accepted by all. What could be the reason behind this? Let's check it out. You will find this in your textbook in page 195. Page 195 contains the topic acceptance of the plan. Now, it says here, acceptance of the plan here, why did the Congress accept the Mountbatten Plan and the partition? I will start with the first one. The Congress accepted the Mountbatten Plan for the following reasons. Number one, it says here, communal riots. When Mountbatten landed in India, the first thing he had to face, the first problem, issue he had to deal with was this communal problem which was continuing between the Hindus and the Muslims. So, the communal riots that broke out in eastern and northern India created an atmosphere of anarchy. Partition seemed to be the only solution to save the nation from anarchy, chaos and bloodshed. Mahatma Gandhi had stated that I will not allow partition of India. If partition happens, if so it happens, then it's over my dead body. Most of the Congress men were not happy with the Mountbatten Plan, but ultimately they had to accept it because in front of them they had another big issue of this entire communal riots going on between the Hindus and the Muslims. It so happened that if you look at the death rates, right, or during you can say the national movement, you will be shocked to find out that the people who died during the movement, the freedom movement, were far lesser compared to the number of people who died because of communal riots. So you can well imagine, because of the rift between the Hindus and Muslims, more people died, alright, then in comparison to the people who lost their lives fighting against the British. So with mixed feelings, with a very heavy heart, after giving a lot of thought, the Congress finally came to a conclusion. Yes, we will accept partition because at least maybe that will lead to some kind of peace and end of anarchy in India. The second reason it says is a weak federation. Now, communalism and the assertion of independence and princely states disrupted the unity of the nation. In such circumstances, India needed a strong central government to curb such disruptive forces. Partition was the only alternative to set up a smaller, united and peaceful India with a strong center than a bigger, chaotic and disorganized nation with a weak center. Later, they also noticed that if tomorrow, what happens if we do not accept partition? What happens if we have the whole united India? This would be the case. Please listen carefully. This would be the case. We would have a very big India. We would have a very, very big India in terms of, geographical, you can say the proximity also. But then what would happen is that we would have a very weak India as well, because we have India comprising of many religions and community and groups always fighting with one another. So we do have this point also, that it is better, I think most of the leaders realized, it is better to have a small India but a strong India. I think most of us also apply the same policy in our lives. It's better to live in a small house but a peaceful house. Better to have a small country but a strong country, rather than having a big country or a big India but a weak India. Because we can't have communal riots day in and day out. To put an end to communal riots, to put an end to this kind of anarchy, the only solution was to accept a divided or a partitioned India. The third reason is separate electorate. Now the system of separate electorate was introduced in the year 1909, by which the Muslims could vote for Muslims and Hindus could vote for the Hindus. This was the system followed in India. While the elections were being conducted, separate electorate system required the communities to vote for their own community members. If tomorrow India would be a democratic country, because later on we already have in a preamble, the framers of the constitution had already written down the preamble where we ourselves are pledging, we the people of India having solemnly resolved, this is the beginning lines of the preamble. We proudly say India is a socially secular, a democratic republic. So we are using the word democratic, but democracy cannot have the system of separate electorate. So the leaders again felt, the Congress party again felt, that if tomorrow we are going to have a democratic state, we cannot do with this undemocratic nature of this separate electorate system. So if we partition India and we have India and we have a separate Muslim state called Pakistan, then this partition is going to put an end to the system of separate electorate. The fourth reason is extension of British rule was harmful. The Quit India movement of 1942 itself had shown the kind of movement that it was, the magnitude of the movement, the power of the movement had sent a strong message to the British that your days in India are numbered, that the Indians have now become determined to drive the British away from their country. A further extension, all right, and in between we saw the First World War, the Second World War, when the British was still here. So the Congress party realized that if the British rule in India will continue for even a longer time, this is going to be harmful. Maybe we will have a bigger war, a bigger movement, because it is better to accept the Mountbatten Plan as it promised independence by August 15, 1947. The last one is bitter experience of interim government. In 1946, we did have the interim government, right? The Congress party were the, you can say, they had formed a government during this time. But what did they have to face? They faced non-cooperation from the side of the Muslim League. Nehru had problems with Jinnah. Jinnah and his party refused to cooperate with the Congress. So, if this was the scenario, if this was the scene, then even if we got independence, this would continue even after it. That is why the Congress leaders felt it is better to accept the partition than to have somebody as your opposition or to have a party which does not cooperate with you at all. However, now we have looked at the 5 reasons from the Congress party. What about the Muslim League? Why did they accept it? Because I have informed you before this, all political parties used to reject the plans. Let us look at the acceptance of partition from the perspective of the Muslim League. Now, if you look here again, acceptance of the plan by the Muslim League, the Mountbatten plan for the partition of India was accepted by the Council of All India Muslim League, which met in Delhi on June 10th. The Muslim League could not accept the partition of Bengal and Punjab, but it welcomed the Crown's decision of the transfer of power. Why? Because it gave Jinnah the full authority to accept the provisions of the plan and take all measures in this regard, and also because it fulfilled the demand of the Muslim League for a separate state called Pakistan. So, I think Jinnah was overjoyed, even though from the side of the Congress party, many of them were still not happy with the partition. But one party which was very happy and were looking forward to this partition was the Muslim League. And Jinnah got his demand fulfilled. Now the Muslims would have a separate state called Pakistan. This is the very reason why the plan was accepted by all parties. In my next lecture, dear children, I hope you have understood. In my next lecture, I am going to explain to you the features of the Indian Independence Act, and that is how we will end the chapter. Thank you for watching.